Savannah, welcome to our show.
Thank you. Welcome to our show, Lee.
How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good.
I am feeling excited about the holiday season. Do you get into things? Like, do you do the lights? Do the traditions?
We do a Christmas tree with lights.
Okay.
And if one of our boys wants to do other lights around the house, then we welcome that.
Nice.
Yes.
Do you personally decorate the tree?
Some years, and sometimes I don't. Some years I don't, but yeah.
So there's not like a specific kind of like
We do not have a specific tradition around decorating the tree. Yeah.
Do you guys do PJs?
Do we do PJs? Do you want to define do PJs?
Like Christmas PJs?
No.
Oh my God, how cute would that be?
We did when I was a kid. We did when I was a kid, but yeah, no, we don't.
Not anymore.
No.
That it doesn't feel like a tradition you would have, but I think it's a tradition I would love for you to have.
Well, I appreciate that.
Getting you and Laura and matching flannels.
Yeah, no. I don't see it happening.
You're like, no, get out of here.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this is where we would normally read reviews as of late.
Yes.
I've just been doing the review thing. But something we keep forgetting to do.
What's that?
And I think we're on episode 12. So we have forgotten to do this.
So you have forgotten it 12 times?
I have forgotten to do this 12 times. Just explain who we are and why.
Explain who we are.
And why we're here.
Uh-huh.
And
why are we explaining who we are?
The reason we're explaining from my perspective is my friends have been texting me how much they love the show.
Mm-hmm.
And every time they say, also, who is Lee and why should we listen to what he's saying? And I think
I felt like that was a compliment that was coming with a backward slap.
No, it's not a backward slap.
We like the show, but why the heck should we listen to him?
Well, they just want to know what is the credibility here? Because for me, they already know and they like me and whatever. So let's just talk a little bit about like who are you, Lee?
Yes. So, what do you want to know? Tell me what you want to know. Tell me what your friends might want to know.
You're from Alabama.
I'm from Alabama.
Okay. And what led you to becoming a professor in Nashville?
Okay, here's the real. I'll give you the very quick version, and you can ask me to expand upon anything you want me to expand upon. I was raised in Alabama. I came to Nashville to go to Lipscomb University, David Lipscomb College at the time, to study engineering. And I then switched over to computer science and ended up completing a computer science degree. Between my junior and senior year in college, I finally yielded to a nagging sense of calling I had had since I was young to do some sort of pastoral work or teaching work, and decided that I would go in and finish my computer science degree and then go to seminary. And so that's what I did. And then along the way, my wife, whom I had met as an undergrad, she and I got married. She went out to Abilene with me. She did her MBA while I did my MDiv.
Abilene?
In Abilene, Texas, at Abilene Christian University. It was a wonderful
It's Abilene.
Abilene, yeah.
Not Abilene.
Correct, Abilene.
Good to know.
Yes. And it's not the same Abilene as the old song. You don't know the song, do you? There's this old song, Abilene, Abilene, prettiest town I've ever seen.
Oh.
Women there don't treat you mean in Abilene, my Abilene. That's Abilene, Kansas.
Oh, okay.
Which a lot of people don't know. But nonetheless, Abilene. So Abilene was good years. And then she and I went to Nairobi, Kenya for half a year, which was a life-changing experience for us. And then I got into graduate school at Notre Dame, where I studied Christian ethics / moral theology and did my PhD there. And then came back to Nashville and started teaching as a professor of theology and ethics. And I taught for 25 years, and then I recently stepped away from teaching. So that's a snapshot of my vocational pursuits.
Of your vocational pursuits.
Yeah.
I've never asked you this before, but why didn't you go into like biblical studies? Why did you do ethics instead?
Probably because of two things. One, while I was doing my seminary work, I got fascinated with the notion of intellectual history and the fact that the way people thought 200 years ago affected the way we took for granted what was true 200 years later. And so I thought, well, if that's true, then I need to know a lot more about intellectual history and the history of ideas. And then in doing my Christian ethics class in seminary, I got interested in a certain way of thinking about Christian ethics, namely through a sort of Anabaptist lens. And so I applied to study with people for whom that was very predominant in their thinking, and then got into one of those programs.
Nice. And then why didn't you do church stuff? Why did you go down the academic lens or the academic path? Was that ever a thing that you thought you might want to do?
Yeah, it was. I mean, I did an internship for 1 year. I took a year off from seminary and came back to Nashville to get married that year. And I worked in a church that year. And while it was a lovely experience, I discovered that was not what I was well suited for. Mm-hmm. That said, I did do youth ministry for 3 years when I was a PhD student. And yeah, believe it or not, yeah. And then I did preaching ministry for the first about 3 years that I was a young professor in Nashville. So I had my experiences with that, and all of them were both very positive while also very, very challenging. And I learned a lot from those seasons and very thankful for them.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's where the best fit for me.
The academic life was for you. Good for me. Yeah. And what part of, do you think, being a professor, why do you think you're so suited for that? And what do you find fulfilling about teaching people? Now, I know that you're stepping away from being a professor at a university, but you're just a teacher naturally. So What is that?
I don't know. I love teaching. I mean, I remember telling my dad, calling him or emailing him or something, my first year of teaching, and I said something like, it's hard to believe they pay you for this because it's so wonderful.
Lee!
And so, yeah, I mean, it's wonderful to get to teach. And it's the classroom and also the writing. You know, I haven't got to do a whole lot of writing, but I've published 3 books. And
I've read all 3. 10 out of 10
Thank
for
you.
all of them.
And, and I like words, and I like ideas, and I like the way in which the power of words can change people's lives. Mm-hmm. And I think the academic life is well suited for helping you, schooling you, disciplining you to take words and ideas seriously at their best.
Yeah, I love that. I think, too, when I was reading your books, which was right when I first met you, you gave them to me, and your writing voice sounds just like you, which is not true for me, for everyone. So, like, when I text with certain people, I can hear their voices when they're saying it, and when I read books, I can hear certain people reading it. When I was reading yours, I heard you saying it.
Interesting.
Yeah, it feels like an output of you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
And in a good way, because I think sometimes with academics, it gets a little mechanical and tiny bit stuffy.
Yeah.
But for you, I felt like your personality was in there.
Yeah, thank you. Mm-hmm. I guess the other part that I should talk about, which is actually what leads us to doing this project together, is
No Small Endeavor,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, that's right. So back in 2008, we started a project that was actually at the time called Tokens Show. Mm-hmm. And it was a theological variety show. Mm-hmm. And so we started doing those live shows, and part of that was doing interviews with academics or, public intellectuals or best-selling authors of some sort, and comedic sketch, house band, vocal performances, all that kind of stuff, kind of the Prairie Home Companion kind of feel. And so we did that for years. Then in 2020, when the pandemic hit us, we started leaning into a podcast of long-format interview that became No Small Endeavor, the tagline of which is exploring what it means to live a good life. So that allows me to take my academic interests in the field of ethics and make it broader than theology. So I'll still kind of bring my theology self to those conversations, but we're talking to philosophers, activists, social scientists, neuroscientists, artists, all who are interested in the art of trying to live a good life, the art and science of trying to live a good life. And so it's a wonderful project that's been really, really fun. And then that ended up on getting syndicated on public radio. And so that's grown a lot and has been really fun. And we continue to do the live shows. But then along the way, we got the opportunity to do the Subtext. But
like 3 short months ago.
Yeah, before we get to that, tell us about yourself.
Okay. I was born in Boston and moved to Tennessee when I was 11. So I feel like I grew up here, one of the few little unicorns who have been here for a long time. And when I went to college, I got my degree. My dad wanted me to be an accountant, just desperate for me to have any sort of viable job opportunities in the future. And I was just never going to be me, right? And so I was like, what about graphic design? And he was like, I'll settle for graphic design. I'll settle for it. And then I ended up changing again to what I really wanted to do, which was religion and art. That is what my undergrad is in. Literally the least viable job opportunity degree in history.
Religion and art, or religion and the arts?
I think it's just religion and art, but maybe it is religion and the arts now. I have no idea. Dr. Guthrie started it. I was one of the first ones to graduate in the program, so maybe they've changed the language around it.
I don't know about it.
Yeah, I think it's just religion and art.
Yeah.
With a minor in graphic design, because I was like, I promise I'll be a designer. I swear, I'll do it. And then I got married not long after college. I too worked at a youth group. I don't think I was allowed to be called pastor at this church, but I was a coordinator or something for the girl students, for high school students at a church here. Within 3 months knew this life is not for me. I knew that I just was not good for my skill set and what I'm good at. And so luckily I got married 8 months later, and he lived in Georgia. So I had to move to Georgia. And then when we moved back to Nashville.
Where in Georgia?
In Atlanta.
Okay.
Yeah, Todd was a music director for a big church there in Atlanta. Okay. Yeah. And when we moved back to Nashville, because Todd, he was touring over 2/3 of the year, and I was by myself all the time. And I was like, I don't want to be in a new city by myself while you're touring all the time. So we moved back to Nashville so I could be around people. And then he got a job with a different musician. And then that's when I kind of felt I don't know if I would call it a nagging sense of calling or whatever. I think how I would describe it is I have this sense, and I still have this sense that, not in the same way that you are, but that I'm pretty good at teaching people things in ways that they can understand. And I want to help make complicated things accessible for people. But in order to do that, I knew I needed further education. And for me, that was going to be in the field of Anabaptist studies. And so I got my master's with Greg Boyd at Northern Seminary in Anabaptist studies. And then, over the years have just been trying to figure out what are some ways that I can help people think through their faith in God and all of that stuff that are fruitful and accessible. And that has led to the subtext for me too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that the kind of teaching the way you make challenging ideas accessible is great. I think you're really good at that.
Yeah.
And that's a crucial kind of skill set.
I mean, it's kind of the point of the show.
Yeah, that's right.
Is that it's so important for people. I always joke, there are literal scholars right now who are experts on 3 words in the Hebrew Bible or something,
for sure.
right? And it's they go so deep into those things. And it's for the ordinary person, there's probably something so meaningful in that research for them, but they need a translator to be able to get there. And I think what I really love is I'm never going to be the person who wants to study 3 words for the rest of her life. I like learning about a lot, but I can go in there with you and kind of forage and help bring it out for an ordinary person.
Well, I think what's so interesting that we have ended up doing this together is that that's the way I've also thought about my writing and my teaching. Is I'm similar. I'm not the classic academic who's going to do that kind of stuff because I'm not good at that. But I like, as you said, translating ideas in a way that thoughtful lay people, thinking about lay people broadly, can understand ideas. And then secondly, it's just fascinating that that we've both been informed, that we both have some experience in doing podcasting kind of stuff, and we both have training in Anabaptist stuff.
I know.
That doesn't happen a whole lot.
It really doesn't.
No, yes. So
it doesn't.
There you go.
We do have some common foundations.
Yes, yeah.
Yes, and then also the things that make us so different.
Yeah.
Such as a Netflix subscription, perhaps. Such as a Netflix.
I think we have one of those. I know we have one of those.
I think
or
so,
it may be
too.
one of our kids.
No,
that we're
I think
using.
Chandler, your son, was like, we need to get HBO Max. I think that's like what he wants you to get next. So I'm going to recommend a new show next time so that you get one. So that's our origin story. That's why we're here.
Our origin story.
And that's why you should pay attention to what Lee is talking about and then listen to the translations that I offer. That is why we're here and what we're doing.
We'll find out if that has any credibility with your friends as to why they should pay any attention to me.
Literally so true.
Yeah.
I'll let them know. Okay, let's start the show. Welcome to the Subtext, where we go beneath the headlines and beyond the obvious. I am Savannah Law.
And I'm Lee C. Camp.
Listen, if you like what we're doing and want to help us get the show in front of more people, do us a favor by following and rating it wherever you listen. Leave a review, give us 5 stars, hype us up. And if you want to watch full episodes, you can find them on YouTube and Spotify. And then you can follow us at the Subtext Show. You can follow me at Savannah_Locke and then Lee at Lee C. Camp to help him meet his goal to become famous on the internet. And if you have any questions or suggestions for the show, just DM us on Instagram at the Subtext Show and let us know what you think. All right, Lee Camp, are you ready to go?
I'm ready to roll.
Lee, today's subject is wild.
It's wild and I'm very distressed about it.
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay, I was hoping that you would care because part of me when I was writing this brief, I was like, I don't know if you're gonna latch on or care, but I'm thrilled that you're disturbed.
Well, everybody ought to be disturbed about it.
But everyone's not.
Well,
and that's what I want to
course
talk
not.
about.
That's because everybody, yeah, okay, I'll stop right there.
I've opened so much. Okay, so
However, I might have some things to say about it that surprise you.
I bet you will.
Yeah.
You typically do. Okay, so I want to talk today about AI artists and musicians taking over the Billboard charts.
Yes.
So the first one that I was introduced to was just recently in the last couple of weeks. There's an AI gospel artist who, by the way, as of today, has not even existed for a full month, which is wild. An AI gospel artist named Solomon Ray hit #1 on iTunes, has 360,000 monthly listeners in 1 month, 2.6 million streams, and was #1 on the Billboard charts for gospel music. And so in the last 25 days or whatever, he has released 2 EPs and 2 singles because it's all generated and done through AI. And I wanted to read his Spotify bio, which says this. Solomon Ray is a Mississippi-made soul singer carrying a Southern soul revival into the present. His records lead warm and analog. It's just so wild to even be saying this. Okay. Hammond organ, honeyed horns, tambourine shake, live bass, and slide guitar, framing lyrics about faith, family, redemption, and real life. With a voice like a weathered velvet and a storyteller's cadence, he sings as if he's testifying from experience. Part Sunday morning conviction, part Saturday night grit. And this man is currently #1 on the Billboard.
Not this man. This thing.
AI bot.
This thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
The creator of Solomon Ray, this AI artist, his name is Christopher Jermaine Townsend. And when a bunch of attention has been drawn to him in the last couple of weeks, he spoke out and basically said there's nothing morally right about this. He said no one is pulling out scripture to ban AI. It's just a preference. And then he said that you can't tell someone's feelings and the impact from music if it's authentic or fake, meaning you can't say that people aren't going to be impacted by this just because it's AI. And then he says, this is an extension of my creativity. So get over it. What do you think?
Well, I think a lot about it. I mean, I think that first we should say that it's a lie. I mean, if you look at the Spotify description.
Oh, the bio is a lie.
The bio on Spotify is a lie. And so let's start with that problem. And, you know, we should just keep saying, well, that's a lie. And so why don't you first tell the truth? And after you tell the truth, then we can take you more seriously, perhaps.
The truth meaning his bio should be Solomon Ray is an AI extension of Christopher Jermaine Townsend. Yeah.
And even saying that it leans analog.
Yes, leans warm and
analog, which is another lie.
Yeah.
Hammond organ, honeyed horns, tambourine shake, live bass, and slide guitar. If it's all AI, it's none of that stuff. That's a third set of lies. Framing lyrics about faith, family, redemption, and real life. Well, is it about real life? And with a voice like weathered velvet, no, it's not a voice like weathered velvet. It's a voice like AI would predict weathered velvet might sound like, and so forth and so on. So anyway, it's just a bunch of lies, and that's one place I would want to start.
Yeah, because so for you, there is some morality potentially wrapped up into it because it's lying.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
What would you say about some artists, Christian artists specifically, and I want to get into the country world next because this is happening there too. But some Christian artists have spoken out and said AI basically doesn't have the Holy Spirit because like there's nothing that's like animating AI to live and breathe. Therefore, like you can't say that this is like you can't. Why would you open up yourself to something that doesn't have the Holy Spirit in it?
Yeah, that doesn't help me a whole lot.
Literally, I wasn't convinced either, but so many people were.
No, it's like I'm very allergic to over spiritualizing stuff. And so that just doesn't help me much. I don't like that kind of stuff.
I actually agree. My least favorite argument so far against it. But I do, with a caveat, I do think the embodiment piece matters.
Well, I mean, before we go to that, though, I would like to say that I do think that it's easy, because this is so new, the AI thing is so new to us, it's easy for us to think of that as qualitatively different in our human experience.
Okay.
And it seems to me that it's not necessarily qualitative different, and more it's just further out on a spectrum of where we've already been. So, for example, I started thinking, knowing we were going to talk about this, I started thinking about this morning, and I thought, okay, well, let's think about the word artificial, just a second, artificial intelligence. And then think about the words, the etymological relations to artificial. There's artifice, there's artifact, and there's art, right? And so it's like all of these things are related, but those are all just kind of different places of some sort of human productivity. AI itself is also human productivity, right? Humans made this stuff. And so that's also true. The spectrum is true with regard to even the way art has been a consumer commodity in the American context. So here we are in Nashville, Tennessee, home of the Grand Ole Opry. And so years ago, when I was thinking about starting a variety show, I started reading some of the history of the Grand Ole Opry. And, some may not know, for example, that the Grand Ole Opry was first aired on WSM radio, and WSM is from the phrase from the National Life and Accident Insurance Company that is "We Shield Millions" was their phrase for selling their product.
Interesting.
And so they had a radio station called WSM for "We Shield Millions," and they developed the Grand Ole Opry because it was a way to sell their insurance products. Moreover, if you go back and you look at the very earliest pictures of the people that were on the Grand Ole Opry that they were doing down at what we in Nashville call the Belcourt Theater, they had one of the theaters there, and they were doing the Grand Ole Opry. And you look at the cast photos, they were dressed in their Sunday best. I mean, it was suits and ties and dress shirts. And these people took their art and their country music seriously, right? It was the marketers who got them to dress up in their overalls because they could sell more insurance that way. And yet we think, okay, well, it's the old people coming out of the hillbillies coming out of the country, but with their overalls, chewing tobacco and playing that banjo stuff. Like, well, no, that's an artifice. It's artificial.
Yeah.
And it was artificial to sell more insurance. And so it's like, and then come more recently, right? Well, let's say a technology like auto-tune, where, people who don't know recording industry stuff, but this apparently happens a lot. You run somebody's vocal track through a computer system and it tunes it where you're flat, it gets you right on key and all that kind of stuff. You're not hearing the person sing, you're hearing an auto-tune, a computerized, tweaked version of the person sing, so forth and so on. And
that's live now too.
Yeah.
Like Metatune, yeah.
Which that drives me batty.
Oh my God, I love it. You're a purist. Great.
Well, yeah, it's like, if you're gonna gripe about AI artists, then you ought to be griping about all this other stuff too, right?
Nice.
Because what are we doing here? Are we just putting on airs, and are we letting technology be the thing that we're celebrating, or are we letting people who have become experts in their craft do something that moves us in deep ways? And so that's the stuff I like, right? But again, there's all this other kind of stuff that's led up to this. And so in some ways, it doesn't surprise me at all that we've kind of letting the stuff go.
That this was the trajectory.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And that it all comes back to like marketing and money.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is a fascinating parallel when you're talking about how that's artificial too, of them wearing the overalls and whatnot.
Yeah.
And that feels related to you to the artificial intelligence piece of like a Solomon Ray, where Solomon Ray is someone like wearing overalls out in the front to sell something.
Yeah.
Yes, even though he is obviously not real.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and artificial intelligence, the large language models is just a model that predicts within certain statistical variation what everybody's going to expect to be the next word spoken, And so that's what artificial intelligence is great at, is saying, okay, we've got this huge data set of the way people talk and think and what they like. And, well, it's going to be great at doing this kind of stuff. Of course it's good at this. And, of course, it shouldn't surprise us that all of a sudden these so-called AI artists are taking off.
Because they're doing what is predictable.
They're doing what's predictable.
Yeah. And I thought about this, too, for like a moral component. With him being like, this isn't moral or immoral, that was kind of the part for me where I was like, okay, I want to know if I believe that or not. Like, is this immoral or moral? And it's probably complicated. But one part that I did want to challenge him on with that is because AI populates from everyone else's art and everyone else's voices. Like, it's not like this voice came out of nowhere. It's pulling from other people's. That part feels icky to me, where I'm like, his voice wasn't invented out of nowhere. It's pulling from and training from real people's voices. And those people are never going to get compensated or whatever for, or honored or credited for any of that. And instead, this is kind of populating from that. What do you think about that?
I'm very sympathetic to that critique, and I think that is indeed a serious problem with all the large language models, because it's not just artists, it's also authors, it's academics, people who have given their lives to production of knowledge. And so, yeah, that's a huge problem. At the same time, I'll also say it seems to me that there is still a continuum thing here, because it's like, and it goes back to the debates about cultural appropriation, right? So, what is rock music except cultural appropriation as a genre, right? It's cultural appropriation. And so there's really, at one level, there's a sort of there's certain instances that we can look at cultural appropriation that feel kind of gross to us. And then there are other kind of things. It's like there's almost no art at all without there being some form of cultural appropriation going on.
An influence from other people's ideas.
Right.
Yes, I hear what
and
you're
so,
saying. Yeah.
there's no artist, like, for example, just popped in my head, Jesse Wells, right? I don't know if you know him, but he's this lovely, crazy guy from Arkansas who's, if you look up his videos, he's standing out there in overalls himself on a power line in Arkansas singing these incredibly incisive songs of social critique, right? Singing the headlines. And it's brilliant. I think he's just brilliant.
Yeah.
But, would there be a Jesse Wells apart from Bob Dylan? No. I don't know if there would be, right?
Yeah.
And would there be a Bob Dylan apart from, traditions of the blues and so forth before him?
Yeah.
And so it's like we're all always standing on the shoulders of people who've gone before us.
Yes.
And so there's nobody in a vacuum that does cultural productivity. And so, again, with AI stuff, there does seem to be potential problems with the kind of thing that we would seem to be obviously kind of gross to us, of appropriating, taking other people's creativity without giving any sort of honor or compensation for the work that they've done.
Right.
And yet at the same time, there is still the reality that none of us does cultural artifacts in a vacuum.
Yeah, by ourselves. Yeah, this is okay. So this is the exact. First of all, a brief pause. Someone literally messaged about Jesse Wells and wanted me to ask you if you had heard of Jesse Wells before.
Yeah.
Yeah, a girl named Maggie said, "Has Lee heard of Jesse Wells? Obviously, his songs are topic enough, but I also think the idea of folk music and social media is interesting." And then she also recommended a song called "Hillbilly Hymn" for you by Nathan Evans Fox. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
No,
but the
I'll have
fact
to
that
check that one
literally I had that on my list to talk to you about. And when you said it, I was like, oh, that's thrilling.
Yes. Yeah.
Maggie, you know him. You know Lee. But I was literally just having this conversation with a musician friend of mine who he has embraced AI, honestly. Like putting in prompts, doing the whole thing, using it for different production pieces and all of that stuff. And I talked about like this population piece of like it's being populated from other people's work. And he said, well, we do this all the time. Like I do this. Like my first EP that I ever recorded in college was called Child of Dust, off of a sentence where Dr. Guthrie, who started the religion and arts program, has this line where he says, we're creatures of glory and children of dust. And it was just so meaningful to me. And I wrote a whole EP around it. And what my feedback to that was, though, is that was a human process. Like what I did was human. Like I read it. It impacted me. I wrote a whole entire thing based off of it versus the automating it's the speed. It's the lack of friction. That's the piece that's concerning to me, where it's like, instead of me encountering someone in the wild, having a conversation and writing a song based off of it, which is an organic process, what happens when a machine is able to pull from an infinite number of sources with no cost and no friction to that? That's the piece to me that feels just more concerning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, it's concerning to me as well. But of course, it raises questions about, can you, let's think about ditch digging a minute, right? You can do that in a frictionless way with a backhoe, or you can do it in a high friction way with a shovel.
With a shovel. Yep.
And so at what point is that an apt metaphor for the use of technology or not?
Yeah,
and I don't presume that it is an apt metaphor,
right,
but it still is a metaphor that we're going to have to grapple with regard to all uses of technology.
That's good.
And so, I think one of the reasons, I suspect that one of the reasons that you have a revivification of various craftsmen and craft trades and that sort of stuff is that we increasingly care about something that seems to be more authentically human. And so if you've got furniture that somebody made in their shop, there's a high value placed on that now, right? Whereas if it's manufactured, in the thousands, then we don't care about it as much. The table made in a manufacturing process still works for us fine as a table, right? But we start to give more value to the craftsman who can do this by hand. And so I think that that's another kind of metaphor that has to come to play in all of this kind of stuff, is that what are you really going to give yourself? What are you going to place value upon, and based upon what?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I love that. I like that. Maybe better than the ditches.
Maybe better than what?
Better than the ditches.
But you can see how the ditches still...
I 100% see what you're saying with the ditches.
Because it's like, most indie music these days is only possible due to the incredible amounts of technology that people can have in their house.
It's accessibility. And I think that's the most positive side of technological advancement, is the accessibility for more people to be able to express themselves through art.
Yeah.
I think that's beautiful. And I think that is to me the most compelling piece of AI that I've heard. That I'm like, yeah, I see that, and I want more people to be able, who don't have the income or don't have the accessibility to different technology or to different equipment or whatever, to be able to express themselves. I think that's the most compelling piece. I don't know that it outweighs the negatives, but I do think there's positives there. And that's on that. Okay, next. There is, I wanted to go outside of the Christian realm just to talk about how this is kind of affecting everyone. An AI country artist called Breaking Rust has almost 3 million monthly listeners on Spotify alone. And he...
Yeah, can I just interrupt just a second?
Did you listen to it?
No, I didn't. But I'm going to be snooty here
Yeah.
and say I love old country. Okay. I listen.
Willie Nelson.
I still listen to Willie Nelson, Merle Haggard, Don Williams all the time. I love 70s Nashville music. And contemporary country is just not really my thing.
Yeah.
And so if we go back to the kind of predictability pattern thing, we ought to just pause a second and say, what does it tell us about contemporary country music when someone who can immediately become a breaking artist is named Breaking Rust?
You can't. Yeah, I think you would die if you saw the music video. I think you would die.
Lord have mercy.
Yeah, I know. It's very new country, to your point, too. Yeah. I don't have a dog in the fight of country music, so I don't really understand. I've heard of the people you talked about, but I don't know much about them. But yeah, it is
so
very
painful that you say that way. I've heard of those people, but I don't know.
I will say I did
them.
we did this event for No Soul Endeavor a couple of months ago maybe, and you sang On the Road Again with Willie Nelson. And when I saw that it was on the set list.
I did not sing with Willie Nelson, to make that clear, though I would love to sing with Willie Nelson.
Is he alive?
Yes.
Okay, nice.
He is alive. So, he's a beast. He's 90 and he's still doing shows.
Is he?
And he apparently still smokes pot like nobody's business.
The dream, Willie. But when I saw it on the set list, I was like, I don't think I've ever listened to Willie Nelson on purpose, like ever. And after that, that day when I was getting ready, I listened through a bunch of songs and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, of course, he's the best.
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
I know that John Denver.
I bet no auto-tune for Willie Nelson.
No auto-tune for Willie Nelson. Yeah. I don't think John Denver counts as country. Is he Americana more?
He counts as that kind of old kind of country
okay,
stuff,
I really love John Denver. I went through a big John Denver kick lately.
I love John Denver.
But I'm just more on the indie rock side of things when it goes to old school music. So all that to say, I don't have a John Denver.
And I will say that one of our guitarists for years in the old Token Show days, Pete Huttlinger, was a guitarist for John Denver for years.
You're kidding.
Yeah, and Pete passed away a number of years ago. May he rest in peace. But so that I had one person removed from John Denver, who also, of course, passed away. But
I know the current guitar player for Bob Dylan's tour.
Oh.
Which I feel like is so iconic. Yeah. And Bob Dylan is still rocking and rolling too, which he feels just like otherworldly iconic, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I'd like to see him once before he goes.
I would too.
He's brilliant. But it would be fun to play with like iconic people like that and just see how they operate and whatnot.
But you were saying that I sang with Bob Dylan, with Willie Nelson.
Yeah, the song by Willie Nelson.
Yeah, the song by Willie Nelson. And you were saying?
I get to where I'm going, Lee, and sometimes the words are not always there. But I listened to Willie Nelson's discography, is my point. And it was like for several hours I listened while I was like cleaning the house and getting ready. And I really enjoyed my experience.
Yeah, good.
I really liked it.
Good.
Breaking Rust is not that. So he downgrade your expectations like by 10 million. But he's so successful, and he was the #1 song overall across genres. Like an AI artist had the #1 song across all genres, which is kind of just startling. And Billboard reported that at least one AI artist has debuted in each of its past 6 chart weeks. But they said that the figure could be more because right now there's not any structures in place where people have to mandatorily report that it's AI. Meaning, I could upload something under my own name that was all done in AI, where my voice is AI, everything, but I don't have to report that. So then songs can be premiering or whatnot, and it could be AI and no one would know.
Yeah, that's wild.
Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah.
Lastly, and then we can talk about this, there was an AI artist that signed a $3 million record deal.
So in that case, I presume what's happening is that there's a human being behind the AI production, and the $3 million is going to the human being behind the AI production.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To keep on producing under the AI artist name.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we're not in Kansas anymore.
We're not in Kansas anymore, which is wild. So something that I was wanting to talk with you about, and this kind of goes back to your history of like the Belcourt and the Grand Ole Opry, which goes back to marketing and money, is you would think like labels and creative organizations would be like, we want to protect our artists. Like, let's figure out a way to regulate AI or just maybe label it. Like where Meta, for example, you have to like label, you're supposed to label that it's AI or not. But instead, the opposite is happening, and labels are actually like the top 3 labels just signed a huge deal with an AI company. My guess, and this is not confirmed, this is my curiosity, I think that they may be wanting to build their own AI artist repertoires in each of their labels so that it's just less money for them. Like it's less money for them to produce. They don't have to have artists that they're investing in or anything. So I'm curious if this AI agreement that they're having has to do with something like that.
Yeah.
Because then you don't have to sign record deals.
That's really fascinating. It would be fascinating to know what the business sense is behind all of that, but certainly that speculation makes sense. You do wonder too, though, about what's going to happen. I mean, my understanding is that a lot of artists have made their money more off of performances here in the last
touring
in the last number of decades or a decade or so. And so you do wonder, I mean, I know that things finally got adjusted with Spotify so that artists can make some money off of Spotify and streams. And so I assume if you can rack up, millions of those, then...
Yeah, I think it's $10,000. Apple pays much better. I think it's $10,000 for every million streams.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. So you have to...
I think it's less for Spotify.
Still got to rack up a bunch.
Yeah.
To make a living at it. But...
Or maybe $1,000 for a million streams. It's not a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. It's crazy. It's crazy land.
Yeah, the live show element, I think, is probably the last frontier where artists can really hold their own. But my guess is that labels are already investing in the potential of live shows for AI artists, too.
Yeah.
With holograms, with whatever. Like in Vegas, have you been to Vegas?
I have been to Vegas.
What was your thought? I love Vegas. I don't drink, and I don't gamble, and I love it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that I want to say a whole lot about
Okay, nice. So I love Las Vegas. And me and Todd, we went to see the Killers last year for a residency that they had at Caesar's Palace. In Caesar's Palace, they have a club. I didn't go. I don't even think it opened until 10. Which, why would I be awake at 10 p.m.? Literally for any reason. So there's this club, though, that has basically like this huge hologram face that is the face of the club. Like it's like the DJ that everyone goes to see. And so I am curious if that will be like the future of like AI artistry in live shows is like more revolving around like that technological, like experiential thing versus like going to see like a person.
Yeah. I mean, it fills me with a little bit of terror.
Tell me why.
I don't know that I know why. I mean, but does it not you?
Oh God, yes, 1,000,000%. But I'm like a purist in these ways. Like I'm like, how do we invest in the beauty that people are fighting for in their journeys? Like that's kind of what I'm thinking. But I just can't see a way that labels and people who want to make money would value that. Yeah.
So I mean, you noted a moment ago about the way it raises questions about embodiment, and I think that there's a lot to be said about all of that that's helpful. But and I have talked about how I think that one of the things that concerns me about AI is that so much of our moral intuitions and our moral formation comes because we are embodied. You can't really understand. I don't know. I'll put it this way. I don't know how an entity could make sense of a disembodied technological entity could make sense of things like compassion apart from embodied experience. Now, that gets problematic. The reason I was so careful about that is that when you start thinking theologically about the divine and the ways in which the human has to be somehow encapsulated within divine potency or whatever. That gets complicated quickly. But that's why I said I don't know how a technological entity, apart from having a body that doesn't have a body, could facilitate or experience empathy or compassion. And so, or courage, or, what does it mean to be courageous when you don't really have to deal with fear? That is a embodied experience in our brainstem or whatever, so forth and so on. At the same time, there's this problem that for centuries, one of the things that a lot of the philosophers and theologians said is that the thing that makes us different than animals is not our body. It's the fact that we reason and that we have rationality. And now it's interesting that now that machines can maybe outdo us with regard to reason and rationality, we're saying, oh, wait, what makes us special are our bodies, which is very ironic, and I admit that because I've been one of the ones that's been saying that. But it's like, oh, well, wait a second. So what do we do with that?
Lee.
And I'm not sure yet.
Lee, that is a full circle.
It is a full circle.
Yeah.
And I think the answer to that, though, is that it's a holistic vision of what it means to be human. It's that we are rational, embodied creatures that experience a full range of experience, of pain, of joy, of pleasure, of fear, of delight, and that it's an all-encompassing vision of what it means to be human. And it's not clear that a machine can do that.
Yeah, it doesn't, at least not right now.
Yeah.
Because this is what this whole thing has got me thinking through. For me, I am an artist and I will always create. Like, I know that about myself. That's just kind of how I'm always going to have output in the world. I worry, though, that this will put barriers in the way for other artists to be able to really create something that means something and that costs something and that they've had to feel and live and journey through. I think through the lens of artistry and how can we make sure that artists are given space to not output 2 EPs and 4 singles or whatever in 21 days. No human who's paying attention to their lives can compete with that pace. And so I think I'm thinking through the slow cooker piece of a creative life and how can I maintain that in myself and how can I preserve that in myself, but then also how can I help contribute to the preservation of that with other artists and creatives. So that's kind of one direction that my mind goes in. And then the other direction that my mind goes in is less about being an artist or creative and more being, to your point, human. And I don't know if you ever saw the show The Good Place. Do you remember that?
Yeah, some of it, yeah.
But basically one of the big themes of the show is they get to the good place, aka heaven, and nothing's wrong, and then they're we want to die. Get me out of here because nothing's imperfect.
Yeah.
And I do wonder, and this might be a little bit of a rose lens way of seeing it, but I am curious if some sort of hunger for imperfection and human vulnerabilities and all of that will develop eventually or start to grow in some people who just want something real.
Yeah.
Versus, I don't know, but I don't know if that's hopeful or too hopeful or naive. I think that's, to me, when I think of best case scenario, that's what I think of.
Yeah. And at the same time, there's even, in, what is it? Google Notebook, where you can, which is this fascinating AI platform where you can go in there and say, you can take, let's say you've got 20 pages of notes on something that you need a quick overview of. You throw it into Google Notebooks and say, give me an 8-minute podcast on this, summarizing this stuff. And a couple, 5 minutes later, you can download your MP3 and listen to it. And a man and a woman are talking about what's in there and teaching you about the material. And watch this, they stumble as a form of authenticity.
You're kidding.
No, I'm not.
You're kidding.
No, I'm not. And so they'll do these little stumbles, as a way to make themselves more real. And so it's like the quest for fake authenticity just keeps going way, way down, all the way down to the root.
Lee,
it seems.
that's disturbing.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Because I almost wonder, like, because I actually think that product is a great idea, like, especially for people if they're, like, oral learners or something, they, like, want to, or oral learner? Is it AURAL?
oral, I think so.
Yeah, I don't know how to say that word, but that
Yeah.
kind of learning, that's a cool way where I'm like,
Right.
yeah, oh, totally. Like, if I could take notes and then have someone, like, where I could hear it, great. It feels dishonest to me to have the fake authenticity. I want there to be a purity of transaction of, like,
Yeah.
this is AI giving you something.
I had a very good friend who a couple years ago I hadn't talked to him in a while. I said, "What are you doing?" And he's a voice actor, and he said, "I've been working on and I won't tell what restaurant it is, but it's one that has a drive-through."
Yeah.
And they were working on AI stuff and automated stuff to take orders in the drive-through.
Yeah.
And so he was like, he and one other, he along with another kind of big company were competing for which one was going to get this contract.
Yeah.
And so he would just record stuff, and they were leaning towards him. And I asked him why, and he said, "Well, I'm dyslexic, and so I make mistakes. And because I make mistakes, I was on the top of the heap because if they could have me making mistakes and repeating back the order, then it seems more real." Isn't that wild? I don't know what came of that story because I haven't checked in with him to find out actually how all that played out. But it just, it's the quest for a fake authenticity is so prevalent right now.
That hurts me to hear. Like, it literally hurts me. And I wish that there was more transparency in that area that was being advocated for. Because I don't think all of these tools are bad tools, like, at all. But I do wish that there was more transparency around, like, this is not real.
Well, and and that's another big thing right now is that there's this from the very top levels of federal power. Even this week, again, there was this a new executive order that wants to block states from having any sort of regulations around artificial intelligence.
I saw that, yeah.
AI deregulation. And but meanwhile, here in Nashville, our governor, who's no left-wing progressive, was pushing, and the state legislature passed, as I recollect, some sort of law regulating AI precisely because of the things that you had said earlier, is that you want to honor the creativity and the work of the creators, and wanted some sort of regulation on AI. But the kind of the madness to deregulate that's very frightening to me.
It is frightening. And I also hate that I'm happy that our state is doing that. Shout out to you, Governor Lee. The second part that when you were just talking, it made me think of, which we talked about Oppenheimer like a long time ago, but like taking the best parts, how like these systems and powers that be will take the best parts of us as humans and then like corrupt them for their own gain. This feels like that to me too. Of like music is such a gift to us as like humans, and we've been like singing for forever. And like I think about like Miriam's song in the Bible and like all of this like how it's been a natural expression of what it means to be human and to celebrate certain moments and to grieve certain moments, and how that being swept up into the system, and it has been in ways probably starting with a long time before record labels, but that is another example, like how that gets swept into a machine. But taking the humans out of it basically altogether feels like that to me, of like a powerful system dominating something so beautiful into submission for the sake of money. Yeah. And that's a bummer.
It is a bummer. I mean, we don't have any idea really probably where things are going to be headed very, very quickly in the next year or two. And, it may be that even in 6 months, we're starting to see things that we thought, well, we never imagined that.
Yeah.
Certainly not yet.
Yeah.
And our own sorts of ways of even framing the stuff, I'm sure, will be evolving very rapidly.
I think so too.
So
I do have a record coming out in January or February or something with all humans. And I literally thought to myself, I was like, we're not using anything weird. We do use autotune, but we can talk about that later. But everything else, I'm just like, human beings are going to be involved in this record. Because I cannot. Like, it's like my little way of saying, like, I'm not going to contribute to this.
Yeah, I think there has to be some sort of way that artists can push back against this stuff.
Yeah.
And, I'm sure a lot of people are still going to love their AI artists.
They're Solomon Rays.
Yeah. But I think a lot of people are going to love their human artists, maybe in reaction and maybe in a way that maybe I would hope might help human artists all the more.
Maybe so.
Yeah.
Well, maybe in 6 months we can do a summer episode that follows up on this AI conversation, see how we changed our minds.
Indeed.
Sounds good?
Thanks.
Yeah.